Greetings to all. In this video, we are going to discuss about circle diagram of three-phase induction motor. We can say the circle diagram as horoscope of induction motor because with the help of this circle diagram, we can able to predict all performance characteristics of an induction motor. So starting from input side till load side, almost all the operating parameters related to the operation of induction motor under different operating conditions can be found by simply drawing this circle diagram. Such parameters are input power factor, input line current, no load current, rotor current, value of slip, total power losses, in which we can able to find fixed loss, and in variable loss we can able to separate stator as well as rotor copper losses. We can find output power, in which maximum value of output power as well as full load operating point, efficiency of rotor as well as motor's efficiency, value of torque, in which we can able to determine starting value of torque as well as maximum value of torque. So all the parameters are able to determine by simply drawing circle diagram for three-phase induction motor. So that we are trying to refer this circle diagram as horoscope of induction motor, that is heart of induction motor. So how can we define such circle diagram? We can say it is a diagrammatic, that is graphical representation of electrical machine to determine performance characteristics of that particular electrical machine. It's not only for induction motor, we can make use of the circle diagram for obtaining performance characteristics of any electrical machines for both the rotating as well as for static device. So in circle diagram, we used to have a combination of phasor diagrams, that is a collection of phasor diagrams with respect to a common reference axis. So in phasor diagram, we used to find a relationship between voltage and current, that is supply voltage and the supply current, that is current drawn from the supply for a particular the single operating condition. So whereas in circle diagram we used to find all the operating parameters related to one electrical machine under different operating conditions. Not only for a single operating condition, we can able to find for different operating conditions. So that we can say the circle diagram as a collection of phasor diagram with only one reference axis. So reference axis here is supply voltage, like what we used to do while drawing phasor diagram. So that's the difference between phasor diagram and circle diagram. So we can say circle diagram is a graphical representation, and also it is going to have a collection of phasor diagram with only one common reference axis. So in which what we are going to do is we are just going to perform a locus diagram for rotor current. So we know the meaning of locus diagram. It is a path taken by the current with respect to constant voltage. It is a common definition for locus diagram. So with respect to the rotor current's locus diagram, we can define the locus diagram for rotor current as path taken by rotor current by maintaining constant supply voltage. Supply voltage is available at the stator terminal. So by maintaining supply voltage at stator terminal, we are going to trace the path taken by rotor current according to different operating conditions in induction motor, especially for rotor current. And the path taken by such rotor current is circular path. And we know for any electrical circuit, if you want to draw locus diagram for current in a particular electrical circuit, the path taken by that current will be of circular path. So this is the concept, that is basic about circle diagram for three-phase induction motor. For understanding locus diagram of rotor current, we are going to discuss about locus diagram of RL circuit, especially RL series circuit, because we are having similarity between RL series circuit and rotor part of induction motor. Because in rotor part of induction motor, we used to have winding resistor as well as winding inductor along with electrical equivalent of mechanical load. And in equivalent circuit of induction motor, we used to refer rotor to stator. So that we used to denote resistor as R2 dash and reactance as X2 dash and electrical equivalent of mechanical load as R2 dash 1 minus S divided by S. And this is the rotor portion of induction motor, and this RL series circuit and this rotor part both are same. The only thing is we are having a mechanical load in addition to this RL series combination. So that's the difference between this RL series and rotor part. So both behavior is going to be same. So for understanding the locus diagram concept, we are just going to start this locus diagram concept with RL series circuit. So for finding the locus diagram of current in RL series circuit, first we have to find the value of current flowing through the circuit. So we can consider the current flowing through the circuit as capital I. And by applying Ohm's law, we can get the value of current as V by Z. And we know the value of Z, it is R plus J XL. And for finding the locus diagram for current in any electrical circuit, we should have at least any one varying parameters in that particular electrical network. Here in this RL series circuit, we are having two parameters. One is resistor and another one is inductor. So we can have either R or L as a varying parameter. But our work is we have to compare this RL series circuit with the rotor part of induction motor. So here in rotor part, the mechanical load is a very quantity, that is we are just going to change the value of R2 dash in electrical equivalent of mechanical load. So by changing the value of mechanical load connected on the rotor part of induction motor, we can have a variation in the flow of current to the rotor. So the flow of current to the rotor is I2 dash. So by varying a load, we can have a variation in the current, that is rotor current. So that we are going to take resistor as a variable parameter in RL series circuit. So here we are going to change the resistor value from 0 to infinity. By changing the value of resistor from 0 to infinity, we can find the value of current as well as phase angle between supply voltage and the current drawn from the supply. And we know the formula for finding phase angle between voltage and current, that is tan inverse of imaginary divided by real value. And here for finding the value of theta, here in current we are having a value in both numerator as well as in denominator. So we can write the formula for theta as angle in numerator minus angle in denominator. So in numerator we are not having any imaginary part, so we can write the angle for numerator as tan inverse of imaginary value is 0 divided by B. In denominator we are having only imaginary part, so tan inverse of imaginary value is XL divided by 0. And we know tan inverse of, that is 0 by anything is 0 and anything by 0 is infinity. So tan inverse of 0 is 0 degree and tan inverse of infinity is 90 degree. So the value of theta is minus 90 degree, and this minus indicates the nature of the current with respect to supply voltage. So here this minus sign indicates the lagging nature of current with respect to supply voltage. It means current lags supply voltage by 90 degree when resistor is at 0 value. So likewise we can obtain the value of current as well as phase angle for all the resistor values starting from 0 till infinity. And what is the inference we can get by obtaining a value of current as well as phase angle by varying resistor is, we are increasing the resistor value from 0 to infinity. So we are increasing the resistor, whereas the angle, that is phase angle between voltage and current, is reducing from its maximum value, that is 90 degree to 0 degree. Likewise, current drawn from the supply also keep on reducing from its maximum value to minimum value. So here in theoretical purpose we have taken the minimum value as 0. So we can say resistor is inversely proportional to phase angle between voltage and current, and also inversely proportional to the current drawn from the supply voltage. So this is the inference we can obtain from this calculation. So now we'll see the locus diagram for this RL series circuit. So this is the RL series circuit's locus diagram, and here we have taken voltage as reference and on y-axis, and whereas in x-axis we have taken current as a varying parameter. So now we are just going to plot the magnitude of the current according to the variation in the resistor along with phase angle. So here in x-axis we are just going to have a resistor value as 0. When we are having resistor value as 0, we can have a maximum current, and the magnitude is V by XL when the current is at maximum, and the phase angle is 90 degree. So likewise we are going to increase the resistor. Meanwhile the current, that is magnitude of current as well as phase angle, will keep on reducing until it reaches 0 value. So here for sake of understanding I have given 3 phasor, that is current phasor I1, I2 and I3 along with its phase angle. So after calculating all the magnitude of current and plotting all the magnitude of current on this graph, the thing is we have to join the tip of all the current phases. So while joining the tip of the current phases, starting from its maximum value until it reaches 0 value, it is going to have a circular path starting from x-axis towards origin nearer to y-axis. So that we are calling the path taken by the current while finding locus diagram is a circular path. So we know circle used to have equal radius from its center at all points. So if you are going to take the measurement exactly center of the circle, we can say that as a diameter. So here too we are having a exact center of this circular path at x-axis. So we can say this is the diameter of the circle. Though we can see only the semicircular path, but it is a circular path. So here we can have only a semicircular shape. So but it is a circular. So the exact center of the circle is going to have a diameter of Im. So maximum current is going to be the diameter of this circular path, and the value of this maximum current is V by XL. So this is about locus diagram for current in RL series circuits. And now we are going to implement the same logic into the locus diagram of rotor current while drawing circle diagram. And for drawing locus diagram of rotor current, we are going to consider approximate equivalent circuit of induction motor. We know we used to have 2 equivalent circuits in induction motor. First one is exact equivalent circuit, and the purpose of having exact equivalent circuit is for obtaining torque equation. And whereas second one is called approximate equivalent circuit, the purpose of having approximate equivalent circuit is to obtain performance characteristics of an induction motor. So by using this approximate equivalent circuit, we are going to draw circle diagram. So in this circle diagram, we are going to include all current phases, what we are going to see in this equivalent circuit. Especially we have to include locus diagram of rotor current. So the circle diagram has to include all current phases and as well as locus diagram of rotor current. So So now we'll see what are the currents available in this approximate equivalent circuit. So here we are having two branch parameter. One is called shunt branch and another one is called series branch parameters. We are aware of this circuit while discussing about torque equation. So here we are having main current is called I1, that is input line current I1, and it is a vector addition of no load current and rotor current referred to stator. So in drawing circle diagram we have to include all these three currents, especially we have to get this I1 only by finding a resultant from these two current phases. So that is very important. So and we are very much clear about I2 dash, because we are going to include this I2 dash along with its locus diagram. So the circle path of I2 dash is going to be in circle diagram, and whereas this I0 is constant, so it is not going to change even though we are having any variation in the mechanical loop. So we can say this is a constant current, and I2 dash is the locus diagram, and I1 is the resultant of these two current vector additions. To include all these three current phases in a single graph. So we know for I2 dash, whenever we are having any changes in the mechanical load, we are going to have variation in the current, especially rotor current drawn from the supply. So it is going to have a circular path starting from x axis towards origin nearer to y axis, and here the y axis is the reference, that is supply voltage V1, and here we are talking about I2 dash, that is rotor current referred to stator. And this circle is going to have a diameter of value V by x, and here the supply voltage is V1 and the x is, in this portion, in this series branch, we are having two reactants. One is for stator and another is for rotor. So on the whole we can say x1 plus x2, both are in series. So x1 plus x2 dash is going to be the value of total reactants. So here we are going to include this value, that is x1 plus x2 dash is going to be the total reactance of induction motor now. So this is about a locus diagram of I2 dash. So we are clear about I2 dash for including in the diagram. So now we'll see how to include I0 as well as I1 in the circle diagram. So for that we know I1 is the vector addition of I0 and I2 dash. And we know I0 is constant, so it is going to have some phase angle. We can say it is going to have some phase angle of phi naught with voltage phasor, and I2 dash is going to have some phase angle, say for example phi 2. So we can consider this green color line as I0. It is a vector, so it is I0. It is going to have a phase angle of phi naught with y axis, and this phasor is I2 dash, and it is going to have phase angle from y axis as phi 2. So from this we have to find resultant current, that is I1. We can find a resultant vector by adding two vectors, either by applying parallelogram law or triangular law. So most of the time we used to go with the parallelogram law. So it means, we know in parallelogram we used to have four sides and opposite sides are equal along with the phase angle. So we can say here we can consider this as I0. We can consider this as I0, and this can consider as I2 dash. So if you are going to apply parallelogram law, and this line is going to be I2 dash, and this going to be I0. So opposite sides are equal, and if you are going to consider the face angle with any one of reference axis, and those I2 dash is going to have the same angle. So for finding the resultant, the diagonal of the parallelogram is going to be the resultant value. So here just we are going to apply your parallelogram law. So we can consider this value, this as I2 dash and this as I0. So opposite sides are equal, and this green color we can say this as a resultant vector I1. So like this we can include all these three vectors in a single graph. But our concept is, while drawing circle diagram, though we have to include all these three vectors, we have to include locus diagram for rotor current. So that is very, very important. So if you are going to have I2 dash with phi 2 nearer to y axis, we can draw a locus diagram for I2 dash. So for that we are just going to do some alteration in this resultant vector finding. So now we'll see what is the alternation we are going to do. We are just going to shift the y axis towards here, and we know while applying parallelogram law, we know these opposite vectors are going to be same along with face angle. So the angle for I2 dash from y axis is phi 2. So likewise here we have shifted this y axis over here, so the angle between this V1 axis and I2 dash will be the same angle like the original axis, it is phi 2. So by shifting the y axis here, it is not going to make any difference by shifting this axis. Both are going to give a same meaning. So by shifting this y axis, again, now we are going to include locus diagram for I2 dash. So this is the concept. So after shifting, we know both are having a same angle. So now we can include the locus diagram. So by taking maximum current over here, so at the tip of I0, we are going to start drawing I2 dash locus diagram. So this is going to be the axis for I2 dash, and this is going to be the x-axis for I2 dash, and here we can say this is going to have a diameter of V by x, and we know the value of diameter, that is V1 divided by x1 plus x2 dash, and this is the diameter of this circle, and it is going to have a circular path towards the origin. So here for I2 dash, here just we have considered this as the origin. So this is the locus diagram for rotor current, and for this actual x-axis, here this x-axis for I1, and here this x-axis too is going to have the same diameter starting from here, because we know I1 is the vector addition of I0 and I2 dash. So again it is going to have the same diameter like I2 dash. So we can say this is going to be the diameter V1 by x. So likewise we are going to include all the three current phases, especially the locus diagram of rotor current. It is happening only by shifting the reference axis, that is y axis, at the tip of I0. So after including the locus diagram, we can remove the actual phasor what we have drawn in the previous diagram. So after removing this portion, this would be the actual circle diagram basic. Okay, so this is I0 and this is for I2 dash, and now we have to find the resultant current. So in previous diagram we have just applied a parallelogram law, and hereafter in the actual circle diagram we can find the resultant current by applying triangular law. So here this is vector 1 and I2 dash is vector 2. and the resultant value is the combination, this connection of these two vectors going to give a resultant vector in triangular law. So this would be the resultant current phasor I1. So here we have applied triangular law instead of applying parallelogram law. So this is about the basic of circle diagram. Now we'll see what are the data required for obtaining such current in practical. Now we'll see data required for drawing circle diagram in practice. In approximate equivalent circuit, we have discussed about three current phasor. So one is line current I1, and it is a vector addition of I0, no load current, and rotor current referred to stator I2 dash. And all these three vectors going to have a common reference axis, and V1, that is normal supply voltage, is going to be the common reference axis for these three current phasor while drawing circle diagram. And now we'll see the nature of each and every current phasor. We know this I0 is going to be a constant value. Even though we are having any changes on the load connected on rotor, it is not going to affect this I0. It is fixed for each and every variable load conditions. So what about I2 dash and I1? Both are varying according to variation in the loaded conditions on rotor. If you are having any changes on the load, it is going to affect the flow of current on the rotor. And due to the variation on this rotor current, we can have the same variation in the input line current also along with this I0, because I1 is the vector sum of I0 plus I2 dash. So if there is any changes on the load, we can have locus diagram for I2 dash. It is going to have a circular path with a diameter of supply voltage V1 and total reactance X, and the same effect is going to reflect in I1 along with I0. So we can say this I1 is also going to have a locus diagram with the same diameter as like I2 dash. So we can say this diameter as V1 by X. So both are having dependency on the loading conditions of the induction motor. So now we'll see what are the possibilities of loaded condition in a rotor. So one is we can have no load condition, or we can have a loaded condition. So if there is no load, we can name this condition also as open circuit condition, and this loaded condition as short circuit condition. In open circuit condition, we can have only voltage and not current. So the value of I2 dash will be 0 when we are not having any load on rotor circuit. And the next one is loaded condition. We can name that loaded condition also as short circuit condition. So for that we can have a existence of I2 dash. So obviously for this condition, I2 dash is not going to be 0 anymore. So it definitely is going to have some value more than 0 till it reaches its maximum value. So based on that value, we can have the same variation in input line current also along with no load current. So this is the condition of having load on rotor circuit. Now we'll write equation according to this loaded condition on rotor. We can write I1 as the vector sum of I0 and I2 dash. So for no load condition, the value of I2 dash is 0. So we can simply write I1 as I0. For loaded condition, I1 is equal to I0 plus IS. The reason for writing I2 dash as IS is, it is not possible to have zero value for this loaded condition. So we can say it is purely a short circuited condition on rotor circuits. It means we just segregated the rotor operation according to the variation on the load. One is for no load condition and another one is for loaded condition. So for loaded condition it is not possible to have a zero current on rotor. So simply we can rename the value of I2 dash as IS, that is short circuit current, and we know this short circuit current is possible only we can have a constant supply voltage. This is what we have seen in approximate equivalent circuit. So again we can rename this current, short circuit current, under normal supply voltage as ISN, short circuit current at normal supply voltage. So for loaded condition the equation is I1 plus I0 plus ISN. So now for drawing circle diagram, the actual data required is I0 and ISN. Need not to do any separate test for obtaining I1, that is line current. So simply by getting a value of I0 and ISN, we can get the value of line current I1 because it is the vector addition of these two current phasor. So for obtaining I0, we can go with a no load test because we know in no load test we can feed the machine by normal supply voltage. With the help of that no load condition we can get the value of I0. So this is possible by conducting no load test on 3-phase induction motor. And what about ISN? It is practically not at all possible to get the data by conducting any of the tests, because we can either go with the direct load test or no load or blocked rotor test. If we are going with direct load test, we can get the value of I1. At that time we cannot able to get the value of I0 as well as ISN. So we cannot prefer direct load test for obtaining data for drawing circle diagram. So the second option is only indirect loading test, in which we are having no load and blocked rotor test. So from the no load test in indirect loading we can get I0, but for ISN we don't have any specific test. So by simply by doing blocked rotor test we are going to obtain the value of ISN. Now we'll see what are the data required and what are the tests are possible and how to get the value of ISN. So the actual data required is I0 and ISN, that is short circuit current at normal supply voltage. So we are going to do indirect loading test, in which for no load test we can get the value of I0 and it is having a constant supply voltage. So it is clear now. And for the second value, that is ISN, we can conduct only blocked rotor test. So at the time of doing blocked rotor test we can get ISC, but the supply voltage is not V1, it is simply VSC. It is a reduced supply voltage. It is less than supply voltage V1, but we require the same short circuit current but for normal supply voltage. We required ISN, that is short circuit current for normal supply voltage, but we are able to perform blocked rotor test, in which we can feed the machine by ISC. With the help of that ISC feeding to the machine we can get the measurement of supply voltage, that is VSC. So based on this ratio we are going to get the value of ISN, because we know the value of V1, ISC and VSC. So the unknown value is ISN. So now by taking a ratio for these four parameters, we can get the value of ISN as V1 into ISC by VSC. So this is the formula for obtaining ISN, that is short circuit current at normal supply voltage, ISN. So the actual data required for drawing circle diagram is I0 and ISN. ISN is not at all possible in practice. It is possible only by some approximation what we can do after performing blocked rotor test. It means by taking ratio between these four parameters, we can able to get this ISN. So this is the data required for circle diagram. Now we'll see this is the actual circle diagram after obtaining required data by conducting suitable tests on three-phase induction motor. We know we have to conduct no load and blocked rotor test on three-phase induction motor for drawing circle diagram. From no load we can get no load current along with phase angle phi naught. From blocked rotor test actually we can get ISC, but after taking some ratio we can get the value of ISN and also phi SC. And now we'll see the plotting of these two current phasor in this diagram, and this is going to be the value of I0, and it is having phase angle of phi naught from y axis. In y axis we are having a voltage reference, and this is going to be the value of ISN, and this is having a phase angle of phi SC from y axis. And obviously we know this ISN is going to be very high while comparing with ISC and I0. So while solving some numerical problems too, we can easily identify the value of ISN because it is going to be very high for all loaded conditions. And reason for having a high phase angle between voltage and I0 always is, we know the relation between resistor as well as a phase angle and current. We know resistor and current both are inversely proportional, and also phase angle and resistor both are inversely proportional, and we know the value I0 is always constant, and the resistor in shunt branch parameter, what we have seen in approximate equivalent circuit, is going to have very low resistance or comparing with series branch parameter. So due to that we are having a more phase angle between voltage and no load current. But whereas in rotor part we used to have more resistance. In case if you are going to use slipping induction motor, obviously we have more resistor while comparing with squirrel cage induction motor. And in rotor too we used to have a electrical equivalent of mechanical load. That means we are going to have a load variation on the rotor. So due to that we can have more resistance in the rotor part while comparing with shunt branch parameter. So due to that we are having very less phase angle while comparing with no load phase angle in rotor part, that is while conducting short circuit test. So this is the reason for having more phase angle between voltage and no load current. So now what we are going to do is we are just going to apply triangular law for finding the resultant current phasor from these two current phasor. By adding these two current phasor we can get the resultant current as I2 dash, that is rotor current referred to stator. We know. And now some of you might be thinking, how would an I2 dash become the vector addition of I0 and ISN? Because what we have seen in the previous slide is ISN is a replacement of I2 dash, right? So how the resultant will become I2 dash? The actual reason is ISN is not an actual replacement, it is exact replacement of I2 dash, because I2 dash is going to have a value range from 0 till its maximum limit. But whereas ISN is going to have a value greater than 0 till its maximum value. So this ISN is not going to include 0 value of I2 dash. So it is indicating only the short circuit condition of I2 dash and not open circuit condition of I2 dash. So here we are having no load current, that is open circuit current. So combination of open circuit and short circuit is going to have a complete range of I2 dash. So that we are finding resultant, that is vector addition of I0 and IS. So practically we cannot obtain I2 dash directly by conducting any of the tests what we can conduct on three-phase induction motor, like direct loading and indirect loading. So the only possible way for obtaining I2 dash is first we have to separate the range of I2 dash as no load value and short circuit value. And for short circuit value we are going with some ratio approximation by conducting Doppler-Rotar test. So now I hope it is clear now the reason for taking I2 dash as resultant of I0 and IS. And after taking the resultant as I2 dash, and we know in circle diagram we have to include locus diagram of rotor current. So now this resultant is going to be the actual rotor current what we have seen in approximate equivalent circuit. So for this I2 dash we are going to draw locus diagram, that is a circle. Okay, and for drawing the circle what we are going to do is we have to take a perpendicular bisector, and we will take that perpendicular bisector by using compass. If you are not aware of using compass for taking perpendicular bisector, and we know the logic that perpendicular bisector will always pass through exact center of the line. So make sure that by using protractor we have to ensure 90 degree between this I2 dash and this perpendicular bisector line. So after taking perpendicular bisector line, by taking this point as center, and we know at the tip of that I0 only we have to take locus diagram for I2 dash. So this is going to be the x-axis for I2 dash, and this actual x-axis for I1. For drawing I2 dash we have just lifted up the x-axis for I2 dash. Okay, so after taking this intersection of perpendicular bisector on this I2 dash x-axis, and by taking this as center for the circle, and the tip of that I0 as a radius, and this is the radius, we are going to draw a circle, and this circle is going to have a diameter of V1 by x. So the radius value will be V1 by 2x, and the diameter of this I1 also V1 by x, because we know if you are having locus diagram for I2 dash, then we will have locus diagram for I1 too in addition to I0. And this is about the drawing of locus diagram for I2 dash and fixing the center of the circle for I2 dash. So this is the actual circle diagram after obtaining data by conducting suitable tests on three-phase induction motor. In next video, we will discuss about procedures to be followed for drawing circle diagram according to the data available. So along with, we are going to solve some numerical problems on circle diagram. Thank you.